Sure.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Driscoll Hoops video podcast here. I'm your host, Chad Driscoll. I believe this is episode 10. And we have one of my friends from PGC basketball on here today. And his name is Tony Vasaturo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Cool. He's a stud in his field. He was a grad assistant with the University of Central Florida basketball team, and he's worked with PGC for, as long as I have been working with them. And so he's been traveling around the country helping youth basketball kind of evolve, and now he's got his own company where he's doing personal skill training with them and helping the youth basketball scene in San Diego, California, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So he's coming to us live right now, and he's going to drop a bunch of knowledge with us and kind of bounce ideas off of him. Tony, welcome, and
Appreciate
give us absolutely. Fill in any blanks that I may have left out on that credential, and then give us a look into your kind of personal life now.
Oh, no, you kind of hit it, man. Chad and I, we go way back working through PGC and the culture and kind of, a lot of like-minded people. And there's reasons why we're both starting to become successful in the fields that we're in because of, where we met and kind of bounce ideas off each other and have that culture. And so, as he said, I had some 4 years at a Division I basketball school, and then I was fortunate enough to get my master's in sports and exercise science. So, Chad and I, again, we talk, weightlifting and things of that nature and stuff. And so I kind of, I'm young and just hungry in my profession and just trying to build up, reputation and kind of be independent. So, that's where I'm at. And I transitioned from the, coaching side of things to more the, he said player development kind of thing for a lot of reasons. And one in particular to have, direct contact with kids and be able to have more of an impact in their lives. I think that's, Chad's a personal trainer, and he's able to, not just, it's not come in for an hour and that's it. And that's the only work you get, in coaching, and at that level, you have certain restrictions and time restraints and things like that. And this is a more personable business, and you're able to form a relationship, a connection, and it's way more than just, a client becomes a friend and a good relationship. So, that's why I'm doing it. And I'm happy to be here, man. Appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what was like the biggest disconnect for you when you were like with, I guess, more or less coaching in the college game? Like what's the biggest difference now when you're working with kids?
Wow, that's good. The biggest disconnect, I would say, was, again, time restraints and things like that are tough. And there's a lot of restrictions from our experience, you were at Illinois and me at UCF for Division I, there's so many time restrictions and people may not know about. You're only allowed like 20 hours a week on court and things like that. And you can't be like doing things for players and it's too much. And so you have to like really flirt with the line of what you can and can't do with your players, and being able to now step outside of that realm and be able to pick up the phone and talk to kids I train or text anytime. They can always ask me questions. I can send them videos and try and get them in contact with a lot of college coaches I know if they're serious in film, just things like that are actually able to help them out and give them like life advice and not have, that restriction on it. I think that's unbelievable impact for both myself in growth and for them, because it's more genuine, it's more empathetic, and you can reach them and get through them easier that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, now with like the power of social media and stuff, our reach being kind of entrepreneurs in our own craft, our reach can be, unlimited, right? Yeah, it's crazy. What influenced you to really pursue this career, kind of do your own thing rather than staying in the coaching game?
So it kind of stems back to my dad owns a business, and I've seen how he's worked his whole life, and it's not sports related, but he's also been involved in sports his whole life. He's been a referee for over 30 years. And so I just always been around sports. We're sports guys and kind of being in the fitness world. And so I had seen the hours that my dad had put in, and I was putting in similar hours, at the collegiate coaching level. And I just wasn't feel like I was getting the maybe appreciation that I had felt. Time is the most valuable gift to me. I mean, it's something that you give somebody and you can't give back. It's the one thing you can't give back. So, I felt like if I want to invest my time into something and build something, I want to build my brand. And I want to be able to spread messages that I believe are going to help kids the most, through stories, through experiences and things of that nature where, I didn't have as much of a voice at the college level. And, there's a lot of things being taken away from, we'd be out on the road recruiting. There's dead periods. Kids would go home. Like it was just a different world. And, I love coaching, and there's something about like a team camaraderie and I do use that aspect of it. Absolutely. But, what I loved the idea of having a work-life balance, being able to work, 70, 80 hours weeks, pile them together. And then, hey, when Thanksgiving comes around, I can't not see my family. My family's on the East Coast. I love flying home to Connecticut, seeing my family and not having to worry about it. And then, I can step away for 4 or 5 days. And then I'm excited to get back because it's something I'm passionate about. So that really kind of what motivated me, seeing how my dad was and getting that work-life balance.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I would completely agree with you, man. The freedom of time and the grind is way worth it. Having a lot of restriction for me, I don't know what it was. It was just, it didn't work for me. Like working up in the city for somebody else and being restricted, like I had to be there at 5:30 a.m. and then I couldn't leave until 7:30, 8 o'clock was like, it was crazy.
That's what it is, man. And you could pick something. And a lot of people we talk about, we want you to pick professions that you're passionate about and something that you learn about. I absolutely loved basketball. I understood it was better than any desk job, 9-to-5 job. But, there's a lot of times it was hard. I was younger and it'd be a Sunday and I'd have to go in the office and sit around when they would bring a recruit around campus or cut up film. And I would get my task done from like 9 a.m. to 11. And all my friends would be like, hey man, we're going to the beach. Like, hey, we're going to go do this. Or we're going to go to, Universal or go see a movie. And I was like, I got my work done, but my coaches relied on me to be there at all times. And even if I didn't have a responsibility at the time, I needed to get in before anybody and stay after everybody. And, and that's kind of, if you want to move up in the fields, that's a good thing to do. But it kind of was just like, man, I'd rather put 5, 6, 7 hours into myself on a Sunday, invest in my company, invest in myself, go work out kids and do those kinds of things that, so it's just finding a balance of, like you said, being an entrepreneur, being able to go out and having the courage to start your own company. Like if you're going to, you'll start to realize if you're not going to do it, nobody else will. So it motivates you even more to just get up and go do those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. I love that. You made some great points right there in terms of, if you want to move up in a certain industry, you've got to take the hours and do it. But there's also other ways of doing it and working hard for yourself at the same time. So, what are the most important skills you see missing from maybe the kids you train or being at UCF or just watching youth basketball in general?
I think that, from what I've seen, and I've been all over the country and even been internationally in basketball and stuff, the biggest thing that I see that's frustrating, and it falls on our hands, falls on people like myself and, young coaches and stuff, is basic skills and understanding of the culture in America. We want things fast and we want to move fast. And it's a results-based, industry at the collegiate level. And so it's like, hey, win now or your job's on the line.
Right. Shit. Oh, come on. You there?
Maybe one of the greatest coaches for weeks, maybe even months at a time without even a basketball. And he had so much success that translated because he mastered basic fundamental skills that, are a building block. And we're in an industry, Chad, you and I, we're kind of an architect, and people come to us to kind of build a house. They want to, build a certain body. That's a lifestyle. They want to work on a basketball game. No success is overnight, right? So we give them the tools, the foundation to build, and we say, here you go. This is what it takes, and we'll guide you. But you also have to put in the work on your own. And so I think that what's lacking is, coming back to your question, is the fact that we are, again, results-driven based. So we come in and we teach them layups, simple plays from a basketball standpoint, and we move on. All right, just go set this screen. Well, we don't really tell and break down how to set screens. I couldn't tell you how awful of a job Division I basketball players if you really pay attention, do something as simply as setting a screen. Now, it's not every, obviously, program, but you're talking about coming to a complete stop and just coming to a still, and the timing and spacing and angles of something. It's so important, yet we just go, okay, go over there and give them the screen. Well, what does that mean? So now we have athletes who are 19, 20s, and they're going to be playing professional basketball eventually, and they can't do a simple task like this, yet they're super skilled in other aspects of the game. And this just as a whole breaks down to basketball IQ and understanding. So we need to be more patient and understanding with mastering a skill. We need to focus on, I've been reading a book talking about mastering the 20%, and then the 80% will come later. If you focus on like 5 or 6 intangible skills that you can obviously measure on a daily basis, and then you expand from that point out, and that's you'll have way faster results than focusing on all 100% of the things and trying to just jump all over the place. And that's in any industry.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's some great insight there. I feel a lot of times that, and I mean, we saw it growing up with coaches, right? I mean, it was constantly like, okay, what can we do next to get the best result? It wasn't necessarily, hey, let's build up these players and make sure that they can actually play.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's proactive. I'm sorry, it's reactive when it should be proactive.
Yeah.
So reactive coaching and that kind of stuff, it's just, it's awful. In the world, it kind of works like that. It's like, oh, we've come up to this problem. How do we get by it? And then another problem is going to come up. How do we get by it? In college sports, we play 30 teams and we're playing 2-3 games a week. And you have these different scouting reports like, all right, how are we going to stop this? How are we going to stop this? Well, if we had worked in the season on like these specific concepts, when this problem came, because you can only do so much in the world of sports. You can't run these crazy things. Everyone has to play within the rules. So if you really focus on, okay, this is how you stop a side pick and roll, and we just master it, teams won't be able to run that on you, and you just eliminate that. And that just, it's like clockwork. And so, I mean, like, you get that in any field. You got to be proactive and just be ahead of the game in those kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. What about intangible? What do you think is missing most intangibly?
So intangibly, for something that you can't measure, I would say it kind of ties back to that tangible skill, those tangible skills that, you should master, is confidence. And I think a lack of confidence shows because kids don't understand the game as much. And when you go out there and you try and get them to do stuff, they won't want to in a group setting. It's okay, more one-on-one. Kids are more okay to being vulnerable, and the kids that I train, they're there to learn, right?
Right.
We understand that nobody's perfect. You and I, we're just beginning in our craft. People that are a personal trainer and a basketball trainer, coach, whatever you want to say, that are 45 years old and have been doing it for 20 years, the good ones, they still learn and get better every single day. We come from a PGC culture. It's trying, get 1% better each day. So how can you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? So kids need to understand that it's okay not to know everything, and that when you get in a group setting, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to fail forward. Don't fail backwards. Go try something. If you can't do it, so what? Who cares what people think about you? If you have good people around you, they'll pick you up and they'll want to help you. Right. So being able to give them those building blocks, focus on little things, footwork, layups, understanding how to play a game at a low level, and just building that up, then they will have more confidence, because then they'll know a little bit more. And I think that that's really lacking nowadays. And you see, I come across so many clients that have, bad shots, or they have like a weak offhand when they come to dribbling and stuff, and they don't want to work on it. They lack confidence and you can just tell their demeanor and their body language shuts down, man. And it's crazy. And look at your field. Somebody might know, hey, I have a weak bench press, and a lot of people look at that in the gym, and it's like, so what, man? We'll build up other things around you, and it'll come. And people, and they shy away from that. And it's like, attack adversity. That's how I kind of feel it. And it's just like, those are the kind of, and there's times, like in season, you need to try things that you work on.
Right.
So in the times of, pressure, you got to try those things. So when the off season comes, which is more probably like 8 months out of the year, work on it. Work on your left hand, work on what's weak, work on your shot, work on whatever you're lacking, work on it so much so when the lights turn on, people can see that you've been working on it. And that's with anything, man. Anything that you find a weakness in, you got to ask people strengths and weaknesses, and just, you're never going to go anywhere in life in any profession if you're not just trying to get better.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Showing some humility to who you actually are is going to be huge for, I think, especially for young athletes. I wish that I had a little bit more humility as an athlete, as a kid. Like the community that I grew up in, I was a pretty decent basketball player, and that was probably one of the worst things for me, that I was one of the best, because it was just like I was coasting.
Right.
And then you get up to like I went to the PGC camps and stuff like that, and you get up to like the showcases, and dude, these guys are like, they're really, really freaking good.
Another
And
level,
I'm
man.
like, what have I been doing for
Yeah.
2 years?
You could tell, man. You could tell when people get put, kind of on a pedestal and how they're treated, and the way that they view things. And it's just, again, that's our fault as a society, like handing people things. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, you work for stuff, and there's always people out there that are going to be working just as hard as you, or there's people that are working harder with you than less than you. And there's, wherever you're from, you could be from LA or from New York and be like, I'm the best in my area, like, blah, blah, but then go to Chicago, go to, Miami, go to a big cities, and you may not be, you get lost. Like all these college kids, a lot of them, they struggle at the next level because they're the man in their area. And then they go to this team where 4 or 5 freshmen come in a year, and guess what? All 4 or 5 of those guys, they were the man. And so they start not playing, and they shut down, and there you go, you lack confidence in themselves, and then it's just like kids drop out, transfer schools all the time. We see it, man. It's a shame.
yeah, yeah. And I think I know the answer to this question, but I do want you to share, like, when people come in, you're a truth shooter, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah, and like straight and simple, I tell my clients, and anytime I work with somebody, I'm not in the business to tell you what you want to hear. I am in the business to tell you what you need to hear.
yeah,
It's simple and plain, man. I'm here to make you better and be the best version of yourself. I'm going to constantly challenge you and ask you to stretch yourself, and just that's the only way to grow. So if you shut down and you don't allow that, then then that's a shame. But and again, I'll do my best to get that out of you, but there's only so much we can do, and you have to be willing to, again, step outside that uncomfort zone, and you got to be able to be coached.
right. Yeah, you and I both know that there's always a percentage of kids that they won't break out of that shell, being at PGC and stuff, and do your best to get it out of people, but it's still sometimes really difficult.
Yeah.
Let's see, if you could go back and coach yourself at 15, or give yourself advice at the age of 15, what would you say to yourself?
Man, I wish I could have had that opportunity. I think that I had the luxury. I played a year of college football, and so I was a decent athlete. Like I came from a small area, and there's a lot of good athletes in my school, and we had some success, both football, basketball. I just happened to be more opportunities at the collegiate level for football and stuff. And so I really wish I had told myself at 15, like, what is it you want out of this life? Like from a sports sense. Cause there's a lot of kids that are good athletes and stuff that they do it just to play. And they're like, hey, once high school is over, like, I'm cool with it. And, I thought, and I never really looked beyond what I was doing. I thought that going to my AAU practices were enough, and showing up to games was enough, and going to practice for my basketball team was enough. And really, again, it's not the good. You see, like, the really good players and really good athletes. They show up to school. They either show up before school at like 6 a.m. and they're getting workouts in, or they show up before practice an hour, or after practice an hour, or both. It's never just what you see. And from a team setting, you have to work behind closed doors. So if you're serious and you really want to get somewhere in the game of sport, you want sports to take you somewhere, from a playing standpoint, you really need to, separate yourself. And how are you going to separate yourself? And that's to work when nobody's looking. Seek out help. Like that would have been a huge thing. I never knew that anyone would have, been offering to help me. And like now, it's amazing the amount of people across the world that just want to help kids. Right. And they want to help kids get better. And that's in everything, there's this guy, his name's Ty Lopez. He's like a really successful business entrepreneur. And I read one of his books, or he had like a TED talk, and it was like one of the top TEDs talk on YouTube. And it was like, how did he become successful? And it was like, hey, if you want to get somewhere, you need to reach out to people who are there. And that's the first thing, is people are afraid, and anything in life, people are afraid to reach out and start their own business,
right,
and for themselves. People are afraid to ask for help. Well, you're not asking for a handout by asking to be mentored by somebody. And again, time is valuable, and successful people love to help other people become successful. That's true leadership. That's true mentorship. So just reaching out to people and asking for help. I would have told myself at 15, you need to go to your coaches. You need to go to people who are where you want to be, ask them what they did differently, what you could do differently, have that humility where you can, hey, what do I need to work on? Because you're in high school, you're 15, you kind of have that swagger to you. You're like, man, I'm good. Whatever. I play well, and girls acknowledge it, my friends acknowledge it, like whatever, man, I'm cool. Well, I mean, that's cool, that works, but that fades at 17, 18, and then boom, it stops like right away. And the reality is it'll show if you're ready or not for the next stage. So exactly. That's a big thing. I would say, just your parents it's tough, man. Like my dad is my best friend, and he was always in my ear. He was, oh, you need to work on this, or like, oh, after a game, he'd be like, oh, I played bad. My high school basketball team was awful. We lost we were like 6-14 or something like that. And he'd be like, oh, you could have done. And I was like, Dad, come on, I don't want to hear that. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't know what I was talking about. And so you got to be open and take that criticism, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I talked about that at another episode at the start. Like, reach out to people who are getting to shoot you the exact truth, and take those people's advice and run with it. I just feel like that if I could have gone back and, whether it was like call my PGC director or email them or stay in contact with them, and just have them mentor me, even if it was like 15 minutes a week, I would have been so much further along,
And that's the thing is, like, we never understood how willing people are. But now that we're in a position to give back to kids and stuff, like, I may not get back to you right away if you reach out to me, but I will get back to you eventually, and I value you reaching out to me. And I mean, like, I'll do whatever I can in my power to help you, whether it's, 15-minute phone call, like you said, or like this, that, or the other thing. Recommend a book, recommend someone to follow on social media, YouTube page. There's endless resources nowadays with the internet and stuff that we can, again, following our pages and stuff like that. So, we didn't have that opportunity, but we also had people that would have helped us. I wish we knew that.
Yeah. And I always wish, and I always tell like my clients and stuff, like, reach out to me. Most of the time, if I'm not training people, I'm doing something on social media, whether it's on my computer or on my phone, and I have text messaging on my computer. So like, I'll see your text come up or your call come up and I'll answer it right away.
Right.
For me, it's like people are like, oh, I don't have time to respond to somebody. Like, I know you saw my text message. I know, you know what I'm saying?
That's BS, man. I can't stand that. I always, what I do now? Cause it's funny. We were in a cutthroat, step over each other kind of industry at college basketball where everyone wants to get to the top. Everyone wants to be on TV, this, that, the other thing. And so now I have no ties in the game and people won't answer me. I ask them for a favor. I'll see them at like the Final Four. And like, I'm just like, come on. I'm like, oh, so now you're big time. Like, you don't have time. Like, everyone has their phone on them, and everyone, like, you may be busy. You may be in practice. You may be in a workout. Like, I'm on the court sometime for 10, 12 hours a day, but I'll find time either the next day or in between my workouts to shoot you a text and be like, hey man, sorry I missed your call. Like, let's link up here. Like you said, man, it's just, if you want to, the time is there.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's dive in a little bit to there's a huge push and pull and a disagree and agree with AAU basketball nowadays. What are your thoughts? I know I have my own thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
There's good and bad to AAU. Kids will focus on, let's focus on the business aspect of AAU.
Okay.
Parents don't really understand. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, shady things that happen in AAU, and it's really a money-driven industry. There's a lot of people that realize that it doesn't take a lot of work you have to. It takes a lot to build up an AAU program. You get your sponsors and this, that, the other thing, but you get a couple of connections, you get a couple of players, and you're kind of rolling, and you expand. You got 10, 12, 15 teams, whatever it may be, and it becomes kind of just like it's a money-driven thing. So it's very business, and I see kids all the time. There's a high school team down in San Diego I help out, and there are the most hungry kids because they're in an affluent neighborhood. A lot of them are single-family parent homes. They don't have like anything, right. And they're out there. I'm trying to get them in AAU programs, and we're helping them out, and they're getting shots, and they'll miss like one game because they won't be able to make it because they don't have a ride. They don't have anyone to get them a ride, and the teams will be like, "No, like we don't want you anymore," and they'll just like drop them because it's still cutthroat, and it's all about an image thing. It's all about, I want to win. I want my AAU teams to win these trophies and collect this money, and that's when it comes. So it's like I can't stand that aspect of it. From a player's aspect of it, it's a good platform to be seen. College coaches are out there and they're looking, but at the same time, it boils down to the PGC concept of, are you going to be getting go get good in the summer, go work on your craft as opposed to go being seen. And what I mean by that, this is, I got a lot of messages I like to share with athletes and stuff when I go around and now that there's a tangible thing to it, I love it. So we talk about at PGC, we always talk about how we always ask the question, like, how long do you think the best player has the ball? And, well, now there's something to measure. This year, Klay Thompson scored 60 points, and he had the ball in his hand for 90 seconds. So you're talking about one of the best shooting guards at his position in the entire world, and he touches the ball for 90 seconds in the game. So kids think that they have the ball in their hand for way more. I love asking this question at clinics and stuff. Hey, how long do you think that Steph Curry has the ball in his hands? 20 minutes. I'm like, you realize there's 48 minutes in a game, and they probably have about 22 to 24 minutes of possession time. So the entire time is just dribbling the ball in their hands, and then they kind of like get to thinking. I'm like, so at a high school level, even if you're the absolute best player on your team, you might have the ball in your hands for 2-3 minutes. Same thing for AAU. So now what are you able to do with them? So you could either go travel, invest all this time, all this money into AAU to go get seen, and you have very little to showcase your skills. Or you can spend time working on your craft, go seeking out a trainer, go ask your coach, go in your backyard, go look up drills on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, work on your craft an hour a day, and I guarantee you the growth that you'll see will be exponential to that you just go to show up to your AAU practice and spend 5 hours a week in your craft. If you're good, you will be found. We used to have an influx of emails, videos sent to us every day. Hey, watch my film, watch my son's film, this, that. And guess what our coaches could do? See none of it. They couldn't see any of it. They didn't have the time. And so it was one of my jobs to view that stacks and stacks of film. And I'm going to cut it straight. I watched maybe 2-3 minutes of if that. And I was like, if this kid's actually something worth it, I'm going to put his film on my coach's desk. I'm not going to waste my coach's time because I respect his time. Right. So the chances of you sending out video footage or sending your huddle to coaches slipping through the cracks is slim to none. But there's people in the industry like myself, yourself, who know people who would pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? This kid, Chad Driscoll, you should check him out at Chicago. He's a really good basketball player. Like, he's a good D2 player, like boom, this, that, the other thing. And that a coach will then invest his time because of the reputation that professionals have and go do it. So scaling back to AAU, I think AAU is a good thing to be seen, but you will be found if you're good, if that makes sense. So if you put the work in when nobody's working, if you put the work in, when no one's looking, when the time comes, when your high school season comes around and you average 7 more points a game than you did the year before and 3 more assists, and you're starting to stand out and become a playmaker and stuff, and people are going to be like, wait a minute, who's this kid? And you don't need AAU to reach where you want to go. It's that simple.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, in my opinion, like one of the only good things about it would be you're going to face a lot better competition, and you're going to differ your competition here and there. But overall, I mean, I would rather just spend a lot of money on a good trainer,
100%.
And the amount of resources that kids have now between like Hanlon and there's a few other guys that stars on YouTube that have like videos up every single day. Like they're providing you with quality value. You just take those videos and run with it and like master each skill that they do every single day. You're probably going to be a pretty decent ball player by the time the season comes, in my opinion. But,
and it's like you said, you got to try those things in a live game setting. And there's no better competition than going to these Adidas circuit or EYBL teams and going to try versus the best competition. You need to understand, again, spacing, timing, spatial awareness, things of that nature. But if you're not good, you're not getting on the court because they're playing 7 to 8 people anyways. So if you're not like already one of the best players, then you're not going to be able to you might get on the court for 4 or 5 minutes, but how many times will you touch the ball in those 4 or 5 minutes? Maybe once. Yeah. So I see your point. I love that aspect of it. You're not going to get better competition anywhere else because that's where all the best kids play. But it's more of a, hey, come check me out kind of thing. It's an individualistic thing, a lot of ISO ball. You don't learn basketball in AAU in my mind.
No, I'm completely with you, man. I really think I'm totally in agreement with you in terms of, hey, if you're good, you're going to get seen. And once I heard that talk from, I think it was Dina Evans that gave that talk when I was at one of the PGC camps for my first time, and I was like in awe. I was like shocked at how much time I actually had the ball in my hand, and it completely changed my mind. Like, granted, I love to go play. Like, we went to play every single weekend, but thinking back on it, I wasn't taking the time out to go and get more shots up. Like I would go to AAU game, like Saturday 4 games, and we'd go home. We'd play 2K, and
oh yeah, I loved AAU, man. I stopped playing lacrosse. I was like a select Connecticut lacrosse player in like middle school, and I was like, I could probably have a future. Lacrosse wasn't as big, but it still was at the college level. I could have probably got a degree out of it. And I was like, you know what? Lacrosse season, AAU season. I played one season AAU, and I was like, all day, get to chill with my boys on the weekend, get to go to New York, get some pizza, play some games. It was awesome. Like you said, man, it's the camaraderie of it. But at the end of the day, I went to practice Tuesday and Thursday. We'd go through some stretching, some zigzag dribbling to get warmed up, and then we'd play for an hour running. Right. All right, run through flex, run through 3 plays that we would have, and that was it. You're staying in shape, you're playing, so that's that 4 or 5 hours. Now, go ahead and invest that in training 4 or 5 hours a week, even more. Like, man, you'd be so much better. It's funny. I actually saw something. I think it was like yesterday or two from like Drew Hanlon or something. It was like, 1% of high school athletes get up 500 or plus shots, good shots, makes however you want to put it, 500 plus shots, game shots a day during the summer. And what do you think the percentage of high school athletes that go play at the next level are?
99%.
1%.
Oh yeah. At the next level, 1%.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, yeah, exactly. So there you go. Proof's in the pudding. You put the work in. You're going up, getting game shots, getting game reps. You're going to, if you really want to, play at the next level. You may not be a Division I player because you may be limited athletically and genetically, but you'll still be a good Division II player, really good Division III player. You'll find it and you'll be able to play. And playing is playing. It doesn't matter the level it's at.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much good competition at all levels.
All levels.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is the biggest separator for kids like in high school now? Say they're a decent high school player. What's the biggest separator and step up that they're going to have to make in their game to play at the college level, regardless if it's Division I, II, or III?
Speed.
It's
the speed of the game. And I never understood that. My first facial like interaction with college basketball was the Division III school I was playing football at, and I started helping the basketball team out there, and I was like, oh my God, these kids are really – I'm like, how are some of these kids not playing Division I basketball? And it was like right outside Chicago, so it was a really good basketball area, and I come to find out that some kids had, Division I offers but didn't have the grades, and so like there's always circumstances where kids fall through slip through the cracks and get overlooked. There was kids that were playing at Aurora High School, and they were teammates with Ryan Boatwright, who went to UConn, great college basketball player. And so when you have teammates and stuff that are better than you and getting out recruited than you, you'll fall through. And it's really good talent. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then the following year, I went to UCF in Division I, and I was like, I can't even keep up with watching their practice for like the first like week or two. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
And so, when it comes to it's not just on court anymore. You need a strength coach. You need a sports performance coach. You need to understand that you need to take care of your body. If you're serious, you need to diet right. You need to take care of your body. You need to become more athletic, more injury, preventative in the steps that you take, so that if you want to get to that level, because it's going to take time to adjust. Every player, you're the best player. Freshmen don't usually play unless you're going to Kentucky and North Carolina. You're the 1% of the 1%. You're going to the NBA or whatever anyways. So it takes time to adjust. You get really good players that don't play for 1 or 2 years because they need to adjust to that level. So it's the seriousness of the lifestyle that you choose. Those kids that have success, one of my players I coached, his name is Matt Williams. He won't have a problem with me using his name. One of the nicest, most hardworking kid I've ever met. Freshman year got, I think his appendix, he had to get taken out, so it sidetracked him. The next year, he had a little injury problems like here along the road, like something wrong with his knee. This kid was in the gym. He'd be in practice, show up to practice an hour early, shooting the ball, working out, full sweat when we start practice. After practice, he'd get some set shots up, work on his form. come back midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, didn't matter. He's working out again, calling managers, calling grad assistants, working out. 7 a.m., 8 a.m. comes, he's getting another encore workout on. You're talking to a kid that's not getting paid to do this, but he's so passionate about it. And it didn't even pay off really until this was his 5th year, his grad year. And now he's out in Phoenix, has an agent, potentially NBA teams are calling to interest in him. And it pays off, man. You got to trust in the process. So it's the lifestyle you need to change. How serious you are about your sleeping habits, your eating habits, your lifting habits, your on-court, whatever sport it may be. And you also because you need to understand that the speed is unbelievably different, and it's going to take time to adjust.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I even realized that, just playing with some people when we play at PGC, we had guys that were there. I mean, they played Division II basketball. They were pretty successful Division II basketball players, and they play with like Tyler and stuff. And like even their speed and the way that they see the game is different than like the way I was playing,
Unbelievable. I remember the first session where we met each other. We were playing with Red and Jeremy and those guys.
Yeah.
And they're like an NAIA program down in Atlanta. They won the national championship, and so they were good. But like you ask the average person, 99% of people haven't even heard of that school. 99.9% of people haven't heard of their school.
Right.
These kids, I couldn't guard them. You right by you, boom, going to the rim, dunking, and I was just like, and I loved it because it makes you go hard, it makes you compete as an athlete. But there's kids out there everywhere that can play, man, at any level, any sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, give us a little insight to where we can find you and these people can find you, whether it's on a website, social media. Where can we find you?
Appreciate that. Yeah, so Instagram posts a lot of, Chad said, social media is a huge tool nowadays to be able to find things, videos, always posting videos and things for drills and different kind of stuff to go out there and get it. So my Instagram handle is at @TV_bball. And that's all my social media platforms. I'm more heavily influenced on Instagram because of the video aspect and being able to post that kind of stuff and interactions. And then I got a website. It's my name, TonyVasaturo.com. It's also on my Instagram bio, so that's where you can find me. And yeah, man, hit me up anytime. Any
Awesome.
questions, send me a message, and I'll help you if I can.
Yeah, so that for everyone listening, this is going to be posted on YouTube, and I'll have all of his links on there so you guys can click over and see what he's doing. He's crushing it out in San Diego. If you're ever out that way and want a little skill training, make sure you hit him up or contact me, and I'll get in contact with him. So, Tony, again, I appreciate you being on here, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. You got anything else for us?
Man, if you want to get in the gym, you know where to go. Hit my guy up right here. It's fine. Hey, because guess what? If you're in town, you got to go to Portillo's, and you got to work off that Portillo's. So
absolutely,
at Driscoll.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you, dude.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you.
All right.
All right. See you.